Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. We are here with our Beneath the Banner's Shadow campaign. This is a D&D 5e campaign that is Arthurian-based, kind of English and German history, kind of all combined into one. This is session 21, and it is going to be titled To the Victor. Very excited tonight for a lot of different reasons, but before we get started, I wanted to say congratulations to Josh, the player who plays Eddard, and his family on the new edition. I hope that everyone is doing well, that you are getting lots and lots of sleep. I'm very happy for you guys, and we're going to miss you tonight. Baron hopefully will be joining us at the break. He is working late, so hopefully he's going to be able to get home safely and join us midway. But before we kick everything off, there's another happy announcement. This is our 2-year anniversary. Technically, it was the end of July, but close enough. So yeah, we've been playing this campaign for 2 years now, and it's very likely it may go for 2 more at this point. No, I have no idea, but it's gonna take a while yet. But I'm okay with that. I love this game. I love these players. I love the story that we're telling here, and I'm excited to put another chapter in the books. So I'm going to pass things over to my 3 players so that they can introduce themselves, say hello, plug whatever they would like to plug, and then we're going to get started. So first up, because he's in the middle of a yawn, Eli.
Hi everybody! It's me, Eli Kurtz. Nice to be here. I am playing Sir John Lightenor tonight. I feel like 2 years into this, I should know what I should want to say right now, and I just don't. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody's having fun and is ready for some victors and hopefully some spoils tonight.
With any luck. We shall see. Okay, next up we have Karen.
Hello, everyone. I'm Karen. I, too, believe I should probably know what I want to say at these times, but I don't, and I just wing it every single time. You'd think it's not like we don't have the time to maybe plan something, but just never do. So tonight I'm playing Ariana Shiel. I'm really excited to see where we're going now that we've won the big tourney, and Ari's finding herself in maybe a little bit of a hot water, but I might get a break from that tonight, so that's all good. Oh no. Who am I kidding, right?
No, I'm kidding. I'm sure everything's fine. Nothing ever happens to these characters. All right. Next up, we have Steve.
Well, luckily I prepared 10 pages worth of an intro. No, not at all. So I'm Steve. I'll be playing Dane. That's it. Well, no, Monday you should come back here and watch the next episode of Sunderhearth. And this time we have a special guest star, the guy that taught Jeremy how to change his own diaper. They're going to demonstrate that live on camera, so be prepared. It's going to be nothing like what I just said. Thanks.
So this is a strange and awkward start, but I guess maybe you could interpret it that way. Mike and I have been friends for a very long time, but he's actually 7 years younger than I am. Maybe I was still wearing diapers at 7.
He was a quick learner, and you were a little bit slow.
Well, isn't that the truth? All right. So I guess we can go ahead and kick things off now. I'm going to wet my whistle. Oh, I guess I should warn, if it's not too late, if mature or juvenile humor and language is something that bothers you, this is not the right place for you. You have found yourself in a dark, dark corner of the internet, and you should turn around. However, if that kind of stuff doesn't bother you, we're your kind of people. Sit tight. All right, I have artwork. Surprised. What gives triumph its weight and value in our memories? Is it the hardships overcome, the adversaries who failed to thwart us in our endeavor? Or is it the measure, or is it measured by the number of lips who whisper of our success? Is a triumph worth less if it be known but only to a few? To only ourselves, even? Victories deserve to be celebrated and enjoyed, the repayment of our diligence and perseverance. However, take caution in how lax the measuring of your achievements may make you, lest you fall in the wake of someone else's triumph. The city of Malrich has been buzzing over the course of the last several days as the various events played on throughout the tournament. And now that the crown-sanctioned events have drawn to a close, the celebration was in full swing. Lords, ladies, and knights are all led on parade down the thoroughfare of town. A rainbow of banners and a sea of sigils gleaming in the afternoon light. Long-barreled trumpets announce your arrival at each quarter and district. A series of drums beat out an upbeat march. All along your route, you are showered with flower petals and the adoration of the people of the Kingdom of the Woods. As the five of you pass, you hear no end to the raised voices calling to you as the sword of Vykaril. Sir Tord now seems to be synonymous with Swordbreaker, and Sir John appears to have garnered the moniker the Lathelburn Eagle. Each of you, if you would please, describe a grand sight or sound that we witness as a part of this glorious display of pageantry.
Well, first things first is the pageant parade, of course, where all of the champions of the tournament are in the front of the line, and everybody else who competed in the tournament is further back in the line. And we've got the streets lined with commoners and the balconies lined with nobility, and there are streamers and pennants everywhere. It's a sunny day. There's a lot of celebration, a lot of waving going on.
I think at one point we pass probably a crowd of young women. And the difference in them is that, unlike most in the crowd, these ones have got a face covering of a black veil, reminiscent of what Ariana Shial wears all the time. And as we pass by, there's just kind of a standing up straightness, if you will, of these women in the crowd, and a slight nod as the people pass.
I think the other thing that we see is passing down the streets, you see commoners and sort of that merchant class, maybe even some of the lesser not nobility, but lords, sort of standing in doorways and talking to each other on almost an equal footing. There's this sense of equality that is pervasive for the moment, much like maybe if you're in a town when your football team wins, right? Like everyone sort of is behind that idea, and so you go by and you see this this fat lord who's standing at this baker's window and this, talking to her, and then these little urchins, and he's actually taking pies from the window and handing it to the urchins and ruffling their hair and then dropping coin onto the counter of this woman, which maybe, a few days ago would not have happened.
Everywhere you look, people seem to be in good spirits. Malrich being the capital, especially during a tournament, it is rife with people. And the tournaments have put everyone in good spirits. Well, most everyone, at least. Those who may have lost their events, some of them may be a little sour. And there's also a lot of talk that you hear here and there about the war that is brewing between the Lathelbrins and the Melowanes. A war that you just escaped, essentially. But a lot of people, no matter where they're from within the Kingdom of Vykaril, this seems to be the prominent discussion that topics kind of keep coming back to in the quiet corners of taverns and things. And if the rumors are to be believed, the other Shieldhouses are starting to throw their weight behind these two other houses, House Melowain and House Lathelbrand. It appears that the kingdom is starting to choose sides in a war that is pretty far away from most of their lands, but they still seem interested in it. This is quickly becoming apparent that this may boil over into a war that could divide this entire kingdom in half. And it's all because of the rumor surrounding the queen, Aura-il Shom. She is unmarried. She holds both her house's shield as well as the house shield that is reserved for the spouse of the monarch. And she's rumored to have been an assassin who spent time in a place called Baldock Prison. It is far to the northwest of here. It's a very dangerous prison that is filled with the kind of people that you can't put in a normal prison. So that rumor has been pervasive and is kind of the spark that has threatened to start this war. Something that all of you have been kind of associated with a little. So, you have been given your winnings now. The gathered purse, I'll let you guys divide it how you see fit. The gathered purses that you won throughout the events totals 5,000 crowns, which is 5,000 gold pieces, to put it in Player's Handbook terms. It is a very hefty sum. And if you'd like, you are in one of the best places in the kingdom to spend that gold. So, what do you want to do here in the capital before the feast happens? Too broad a request.
So first things first, I imagine we probably just divide the winnings evenly, or sort of share them communally and leave them to be used as needed. But I don't know how everybody else feels about that.
I don't think Dane would object to that at all. Like, I don't think he even necessarily in his mind lays claim to any of that. When you grow up dirt poor, literally dirt poor, money stops having quite as much meaning. So I don't think Dane would know what to do with it. mean, that being said, if you wanted to go get stuff, we could. You know.
Yeah, just because he's never had money doesn't mean he's never dreamed of shopping.
I don't think he's ever dreamed of shopping, especially after last time he had to go shopping with you. That turned out to be quite the.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. Ari, do you have any thoughts?
Oh, I have many. But right now, there is so much I want to see and do in the city.
Ooh.
Right. Giant turkey legs for everyone.
Starting with no, I don't want any of that. You can have mine.
2 giant turkey legs for Dane.
Yes. Little growing boy.
And funnel cake, of course.
Of course.
And popcorn. Yeah, I got nothing.
I mean, we haven't had money at all this entire time, and we've gotten by without it. So I'm sort of stumped.
Everybody's just like standing there rubbing fistfuls of gold together, just like, I don't know.
Do I swim in it? What?
Ari pulls out a piece of paper, a parchment that starts to unfurl. I've got a shopping list. So I think she'd probably grab part of the coin purse, like put some in her own coin purse, and well.
And I think when she goes to do that, Sir John is like, "Oh, please, a little more," and fills it up.
There's a few places I want to go, so I'll check back with you here later.
Very well.
She's like, I got cash now, bitches. Deuce.
Just cut to like Ari shopping. This poor old guy behind her with all these like hat boxes and
like Pretty Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Only Richard Gere's an orc.
Does Dane have heraldry of his own yet? I can't remember if we established that before the tournament.
I don't remember.
So we did, but it's just a modified version of yours. Like instead of straight lines, he has lines that look more like rolling waves. And then although he adopted the red, black, and yellow gold of obviously of your house, his own outfit is more greens and blues and black. And then we got that nice little banner made up. Because I had actually, I'd have to look at my notes, but I'd wanted to get it back at the last town, and then it was recommended that we wait till we got here because it would be easier to obtain.
Yeah, there were definitely craftsmen on every corner looking for that kind of last minute work to be done. Probably for fairly cheap.
Yeah. And then last time we got myself armor because you kept buying it for me. I just never put it on.
It's about time.
Yeah. Weird.
So, no? Karen, do you actually have a list?
I do.
Well then,
perfect.
I'm just gonna go ahead and mute real quick, and
I'll go make a sandwich or something.
So let's tackle this. Let's find out what you guys want, or at least what one of you wants.
yes, just go ahead and ache like my wife and tell me what I want.
So the first thing that Ari wants to do is probably head to I guess a fletcher, someone who makes bows.
Definitely.
A longbow in particular.
To procure a longbow. Okay. Absolutely. Let me see. Not quite there yet. Okay. Yeah. I'm even going to say that because of the volume of work that a lot of these people are expecting to do over the course of this tournament, that there's probably going to be actually a little bit of a discount on some of this stuff. So 45 gold pieces is what a longbow would cost you.
Perfect. So the rest of the stuff on the list are a little bit more or less mechanical, I guess.
Okay.
While there, she'd probably go to like an armor smith or a leather worker, and she's looking for a ornate, not too fancy, but a nice scabbard for like I think it's a longsword.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know how much a scabbard alone would cost, but I mean, if you're looking for something that's really nice, it has like filigreed, like metal work and stuff on it.
More along the lines of good leather work. So like,
okay.
Different colors of leather.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's call it a gold piece.
Okay. Also looking for a cloak. Well crafted, not too ostentatious. Maybe a little on the like a duller colors, easier to hide kind of one, you know, so not like bright orange or red, but more like the greens and browns, but a fine quality cloak, like a fine material that's well crafted.
Okay, so maybe something that's like made for, like something that's made for like woodsmen, like a hunter's cloak. It would be like oiled leather against the weather and stuff like that, or
yeah,
or something that's prettier than that.
A little bit prettier. So maybe like an elven hunter's cloak.
Ah, okay. You may not be able to find one that's actually elven crafted because we're pretty far from the elven lands. But there are certainly people. There's definitely certain elven aesthetics that have kind of bled into
that's
human design and stuff. So
yeah, that's more what I was thinking of.
Perfect. Okay. So let's call that 5 gold.
Okay. Next, she would go to a I don't know what kind of store there'd be in odds and ends, but a store that would have like writing implements, you know, paper, parchment, quills, etc. She's looking for a very fancy quill.
Okay.
Very kind of elegant, not stand out, but a good quality, very elegant looking quill.
Okay. Something that would be like on the desk of like a minor noble or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's call that 5 silver pieces.
Okay. She'd also then like to go to like an apothecary. And this is where she'd like to buy some spell components and maybe some things that are a little bit fancier and more helpful for healing.
Okay. So yeah, within the city, it'll be harder to find somebody who's labeled themselves as a place that deals in spell components. Mm-hmm. It would definitely be much more of an herbalist or maybe even like a cook that kind of knows herbal medicines and things. So, what kind of stuff are you looking for?
So I'm looking for, let's say, like, there's a magic item called, what's it? Kogam's ointment. It helps with poison and healing.
Ooh,
So
okay.
something along the lines of that.
Is that in the DMG? Because I don't think it's
I think so.
Player's Handbook. My DMG is currently behind my green screen, so I'm not going to reach for it because it'll tear the whole thing down. It'll fall on me.
Also, like a healing potion or two.
The healing potions you'll have to go to the church for.
Okay.
For sure. And they are very, not the most receptive people. It's not that you can't go there and get them, but that would be something we'd probably roleplay.
Okay, so I might not go there for that, to be honest.
Oh, there we go. Stay. Thank you. Item uncommon. And I think uncommon is from like somewhere around 100 gold pieces usually. I think that's about right. So yeah, we'll call it 90 gold pieces. We're doing about 10% off of most things. And even though it lists it here as a magic item, it's probably going to be more like old world, like remedy type magic.
That's kind of what I envisioned too. Like, here's like this apothecary's like magical healing elixir or whatever. Like he would have passed over, spread this out and.
Right. Yeah. It's it's this plant and maybe a little bit of this kind of animal you probably don't want to know, kind of all mixed together, and you just gotta slap this on, ignore the smell, and it gets better.
Yeah, so things in particular I'm looking for is fleece and mistletoe. So
both would be mistletoe. You could probably find some. It'd be dried, I would imagine, but it would be pretty out of season. I'm pulling that out of my ass because I don't. I'm only assuming it because it's around during Christmas time that it's a wintering plant. I'm not a botanist. Sorry.
So I'd like to get 3 uses of each. I need 8 pieces. So
okay. For all of it together, I would say probably a gold piece.
Okay.
You're talking like small pieces of fleece, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So gold. Okay.
Those are probably even free. Like the tailor or something could just give you like scraps of it, I would imagine.
I go to the sheep shearing contest place and just scoops that.
There you go.
And then the last thing, I think maybe this is a little bit harder. A silver mirror.
So they could definitely provide you with that. There are a ton of noble ladies and gentlemen that have gathered here who are very fond of preening themselves constantly. So there are definitely mirrors to be had here. Silver mirror. One listed is a steel mirror. So one made of silver that was polished to that kind of a shine would be, call it 45 gold pieces. But this is not silver colored. This is actual silver.
And I think that... Oh, I guess I should buy arrows too, if I'm going to buy a level.
Arrows. They will also be found aplenty. Where are you, arrows? Oh, under ammunition. That's fine. So a gold piece would get you 20.
Okay, and that comes with a quiver as well, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. It would. And whatever color, style you'd like.
And I think that would probably take Ari most of the afternoon, probably, to gather all that. And then she would be heading back to, I guess, wherever we were staying in a very good mood.
Okay. Yeah, to maybe get ready for the feast later that evening. Cool. So has that given either of you gentlemen any ideas? No.
I want to go buy a dog.
A dog?
Mm-hmm.
Dog, okay. One that's trained?
Either one that's trained or a puppy of good breeding that I can work with myself, whichever one I get suckered into.
Okay. Let's see. Will you name him Squire?
I'm gonna call him Little John.
Ooh.
The timing of that bark was perfect.
Right?
Whoever's responsible.
That's my dog Django. He's a pain in the ass. Let's see. I don't know how much a dog would cost. A mount mastiff is 25 gold pieces, so a gold piece. You want a mastiff?
I do actually. That is exactly the dog I was thinking of. As I wanted a mastiff. Yes.
Okay.
Well, and it's
be trained as a mount, unless you
specifically
wanted that.
No. But that size of a dog would be perfect.
Okay, cool. So if you want one that is that big, fully grown and trained, let's call it 10 gold.
Okay. Yeah. So I will go acquire a dog.
Dang now has a dog. It's a great thing. Ooh. I apologize for that. I'm a father. It's fine.
Jeremy, it's time to leave.
Right.
Goodbye, everyone. Good night.
Right. Go sit in the corner and think what you did.
Hang up my microphone.
Rub your nose in all his dad jokes. Oh, man. All right, so I want to also go get and I'll kind of like separate myself from everybody else to go get these next few items. But I want to get a really nice writing journal.
Okay.
And if I can get that with sort of like a embossed it'll be Dane's best recollection of what Eddard's heraldry is. It's gonna be like this bird talon holding a gem, and that's kind of like the description I give the guy. So we'll see what comes out of it.
Excellent. So I would say that's about 21 gold pieces. Books are apparently very expensive. Makes sense.
Right.
I can't even imagine hand making a book.
There are some amazing YouTube videos on it that are just enthralling, I think. But I'm a nerd, so.
Dude, I watched wood turning videos. Like
me too. I do too.
It's very cathartic. Okay.
Sweet.
Cool. Yeah, it's kind of I imagine this kind of cornflower blue and like maroon colors that he's got. Eddard next to his thing. I forgot to thank Rachel. Oh my god. Rachel's
thank you, Rachel.
Close to the shields. She's awesome. Thank you, Rachel. Cool. Was there anything else for Dane?
Yeah, so then I'm gonna ignorantly wander around shops looking for things that look elvish until I find something that looks elvish.
Sure.
Yeah. Farm boy in the big city, buying gifts for his friends.
Stuff with leaves on it and like swirls.
Mm-hmm. If it looks dainty but can kill you, that's probably elvish.
That's fair.
So
describes Ariana Shield to a point.
Right, really sharp cheese knife.
It's a beautiful letter opener that you find. It's absolutely gorgeous.
I was thinking maybe something more like a really ornate tea set, like a metal tea set, not a china tea set.
Okay.
Not that I've ever really seen Ari drink tea, but elves like frou-frou stuff.
What else do dainty people do?
It's made out of leaves. Tea's made out of leaves.
Perfect.
She can just pour liquor in it. It'll be fine.
It might be more her style. Let's see. Call it 5 gold pieces for a really nice set.
All right.
It's because she doesn't have a tea set. Perfect.
What do you get the orc that has everything? I mean, he was literally a lord for a bit, so
it's true.
It's not a weapon because he has a lot of those. Okay, so I'm gonna go find an armorer, like armorsmith. And this will probably take a little bit for them to be able to get to me. It's not going to be something I'm going to buy off the shelf. I would like them to take 2 distinctly different shields, break them in half, and mend the 2 halves of the 2 different shields together, and still have it be functional. Good luck, armorsmith.
Yeah. There's probably definitely a moment where this armorsmith, he's probably like this old leathery, dude who's covered in like soot and sweat, just kind of looking at you like something might have happened to your head.
Well, then I go find the plucky like farrier that jumps in to save the day and
absolutely, yeah.
Have her do it instead.
She puts a Nike swoosh on it, but it's backwards. No.
I also love that movie. And when they tell me that's not possible, then that's completely fine. But I convey to them the idea that I want a shield that emulates, the shield breaker, right? Sword breaker. Yeah, something sure. in that vein. Like if they could make it so that it sort of gives off that vibe. I'm not quite sure how to undo it, so maybe I actually spend a couple hours talking to this old guy, and it kind of turns from like that shopping conversation to more like a kid who's talking to his grandfather in his in his wood shop, right? So it starts to like question as he goes about moving about it and doing stuff. So I think by the end of it, we sort of rough out this shield that looks very brutal, right? It's sort of what's what I'm looking for. What's that shape when it's not like there's no really congruent angles to it? Yeah, asymmetrical works. That's fine. Yeah, so sort of asymmetrical type shield that looks a little orky. I mean, come on.
A little rough around the edges.
Yeah, exactly. Beaten, so it's not polished. I don't want it to be a polished type deal. And on the back of it, where you would hold, I'd like him to put in a dagger sheath so that were toward to lose his sword, there would still be another weapon behind the sheath or behind the shield.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we'll call that 20 gold pieces. 20 crowns. That's cool.
I got to keep running back to Sir John. I need 20 more gold. Running off again.
It's like, Dane, I told you, take more than you think you'll need. We have plenty. Oh.
It's a big city. I might get robbed.
Take more than you think you need. You have, and then I look around, magic.
I look at you very hypocritically. All right. So then the pondering begins. And I think like you sort of see Dane sitting on the stoop of maybe that same baker shop we saw earlier. And he's got like this these really young kids, maybe they're like 4 or 5 years old, like 2 of them sitting in front of him. And those kids are like playing marbles or the equivalent thereof in front of Dane. And he's just like munching on this like cake or pie, sort of very, very, very deep in thought as he's pondering like what to get Sir John, right? Like this is a dude who, I mean, is going to be like a lord, right? And has given Dane everything over the last little bit, so it's really hard for him to figure out like, I mean, what do you give back to someone like that? And he's talking to these 2 children as though they're actually going to be able to answer him. And like, so he's like, what if I hired him a herald? And the kids are both like, yeah, good idea. Hire him a Harry. I'm like, no, that's silly. Don't be ridiculous. And that probably goes on for quite a bit. And I don't think before it's time to go to the feast, like Dane can come up with a good idea of what to get Sir John. Like there's been like a lot of like positive stuff, right? Yeah, we just get him a necktie. No, that's stupid. Get him a t-shirt that says best dad. But I think maybe by the end of it, Dane's bought like 15 gold worth of this baker stuff and like cleaned out the shop. And parts of it are like parts where he's taking a bite and sort of set it down, and parts of it where someone like comes up and is like trying to buy something, and Dane just reaches up and puts a gold down for it and asks them a question like, would you wear silver plated spurs? No? Okay. And so I think whereas Ari returns to the inn like very happy, Dane sort of returns cloudy. Like he's not like mad. It's just like he's almost like he's exhausted from the effort of trying to figure out like what to buy. So if he gets back in time to see like Sir John down in the common room, he kind of has these like couple of packages of things that he's bought in his hands. See Sir John's like, and then just goes upstairs real fast. Like he's only got like 2 packages, and it's like, these aren't for you.
And imagine there might have even been like a few scenes where like we see Dane like almost making a purchase. Like he's got the item like in his hand and he's like about to pay, and he's like puts it back and leaves.
Or like maybe there's one where he's in one part of the shop and Sir John's in the other, or in a shop adjoining to it, and Dane's going to buy something, and Sir John makes a comment about like how like one of his employees or something had bought him something like this previously, and he's never used it, and so like Dane's like, dunk.
Had any ideas, Eli? Know what Sir John wants?
Oh, yes. So I imagine the morning of the feast, my quartermaster is, attending to our quarters, and I am in there, like trimming up my beard or something. And she comes in, and I say, "Oh, Constance, yes, I have several tasks for you today. Please, it's going to be busy, so heed me well. First things
Yes, my
first,
lord.
of course, we need a new herald for the party here. The last one was rather dismal, despite being a man of House Lytenor. This time, I think, as long as the credentials are excellent, and as long as they are willing to hoof it out in the wilderness, I am not picky. I shall leave it to your better judgment."
But not a drunkard, my lord.
Yes, yes. Preferably a teetotaler.
Probably
Next,
wise.
I think we need to. What I would like to do is surprise the rest of everyone with a grand field camp set up. Right now, we're using these tents that have gotten old. They've been patched. You've done a wonderful job patching them, don't get me wrong, but we need something grand, I think. So, again, I'll leave it to you, but find tents and kit that would feel more appropriate for tournament champions, frankly.
Of course, lord. For lords and sires.
Oh, no, for one and all of us. I
Yes.
want everyone to feel immensely comfortable. And, Dane is, Sir Dane is no longer my squire, no longer hired help in the same way that he once was. So I think we should find a replacement for him. I would say 2 or 3 porters is probably enough to pick up his slack. And of course, I'll leave that to you as well. You're an excellent manager of people. And you know what? Why don't you treat yourself? Go find a much nicer wagon for yourself as well to carry all of our things in. And you may organize it, of course, however you wish. And why don't you give the other wagon away to some needy merchant or farm family that's come in for the week?
Very benevolent of you, my lord.
Ah, yes, of course. Well, and also make sure you repair the wagon before, maintain it before we give it away.
Of course.
And I believe that will be all. I have plans today to go purchase a new halberd for myself. This one has been quite serviceable, but of course it will not do for a tournament champion.
Of course, my lord. Okay. She sets out and has quite a busy day. I would imagine she probably even wrangles your other cohort into helping her achieve some of these things. Let's see here. Nice tents. You're just too tense. I would say probably 20 gold pieces for, I don't know, maybe 6 tents. One for everybody.
Yeah, works for me.
And then there'd probably be a lesser tent for your I cannot remember the word for them. Vassals.
Retainers, yeah.
Retainers, thank you.
Say like for the main cast, everybody gets their own tent, but for the retainers, they double up.
Yeah, exactly. And they're probably a less grand version of the tent that you're in. You know, yours is probably like a center pole tent. Theirs is probably more like an A-frame.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I would say 20 gold, and that would again come in everybody's house colors if they wish it.
Absolutely. Constance, wonderful attention to detail.
And a wagon. You want a wagon or do you want a carriage?
I don't want a carriage. I'm imagining the wagon will be more about like carrying our stuff than carrying us.
Right, okay. So a nice wagon, we'll call it 45 gold.
Yeah, sounds good.
So tents, wagon.
The new herald is on the list as well, and I think.
Yes. And squire.
Oh, and then the
Or
other,
porters.
the 2 or 3 porters. Yeah.
Okay. Herald. It's just 2 gold pieces a day, so you could probably retain one for, call it 100 gold pieces, and that would be like maybe a year's service or something like that. Or are you looking for one to actually like swear fealty to your house and that kind of thing, or?
I mean, functionally, I don't see much of a difference here. I imagine, in a year, if they prove themselves, we'll probably extend an offer like that.
Okay, cool. And then the porters would be, call it 20 silver a piece. So 40 silver, so 4 gold.
Yeah, okay. That sounds good to me.
They're, younger boys, probably 12, 13, 14.
Sure.
But they're, they grew up tough and are able to lift more than they seem like they could.
Sounds good. They'll grow with the camp.
Mm-hmm.
And then for a halberd for myself, I want to go to a weaponsmith. I think one of the more prestigious weaponsmiths along the Smith Lane, or whatever we want to call it.
Sure, okay.
And I'm counting on my cred to get me in a timely fashion.
Kind of bump you up.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could certainly do that. Whatever badge that you won for being the last man standing in the Grand Melee, I would imagine probably gives you no small amount of clout.
Mm-hmm.
To have you walking around carrying one of their weapons, they would consider it kind of an honor. So are you just looking for a really nice halberd, or are you looking for a halberd that kind of pushes the limit of being mundane?
I think maybe the latter.
Okay.
I don't think masterwork is still a thing in 5th edition, but the equivalent of. Okay. I'm picturing something that's like not just an axe head and a spike and a hook. I'm picturing like the axe head is in the shape of an eagle wing and the hook is in the shape of an eagle beak, like that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, let's say that. Okay, let's do this. Let's call it 200 gold pieces. And it will have a +1 bonus that you can choose to swing to either attack or damage. And you can choose it every round.
Oh, okay, cool. Here for that. Let's see here. Cool. Yeah. So, and I imagine, that's probably not going to be ready same day, so I can come back and pick it up later. But I at least wanted to get it commissioned today.
Yeah, that's definitely pushing his limits, but doable.
Sure.
Okay. Was there anything else?
Not for me, no. That'll do it.
Okay. One of you, if you would please, volunteer. Aaron. While Ariana Shial is kind of out and about doing her shopping, if you would please roll a perception check for me.
That is a bad dice roll. So that is a total of a 9.
Okay. So, you did not happen to see... hang on. You did not see, but the townsfolk are. They seem to have picked up a different rumor. And this one has kind of replaced most of the conversations about civil war, at least in this part of the city. In the western portion of the city, a lot of the townsfolk are talking about spotting a dragon in the skies to the west of the city. They said it was distant, but appeared to be approaching, and then kind of swooped down below where they could see, and it disappeared. You're muted. I don't know if you were. Okay. I don't know if you were talking to yourself or if you were trying to say something to me, or.
I was talking to myself.
Oh, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
I do that often. Stories like this, are they common, or like when was the last time I'd heard about
No.
a rumor of a dragon?
People talk about dragons, but it would be very rare for anybody living, at least in the human lands, for anybody to say that they've seen one with any validity. Elves,
Okay, and so
probably not as rare.
right. So when I'm hearing the talk of it, is it always my friend's grandmother's best friend's sons saw one, or is it?
Yeah, exactly. That kind of stuff. You know, I knew someone when I was a child who knew someone who was eaten by one. You know, that kind of stuff.
Right. Okay. She'll just listen, seeing how pervasive this rumor is, and then when she goes back, she'll tell the others.
Okay. So before we get to where the group is back together and going to the feast and everything, Dane, at some point during your preparations, during your contemplations, you find yourself alone by a body of water. Where in the city are you, and why?
So I think the why is just wandering, right? That thing like when you're deep in thought and you keep walking and you turn this way, you turn that way, and you keep walking and you don't really pay attention to where you are until all of a sudden you just realize you've arrived somewhere you didn't necessarily expect. And I think it's sort of Dane is lost in thought and walking. The surroundings become a bit more familiar to his origin. Like they stop being these stuccoed and brick buildings, and they start being these sort of thatched and less sturdy. As he sort of wandered into perhaps a lower income, shall we say, section of the city, and you know, perhaps in certain places in the merchants area there were cobblestone streets, and now it's mud and crooked single wheel ruts where these people use wheelbarrows that because they can't even really afford carts on this section. But there's the smell of fresh food and sort of hearty meals. There's a sort of warmth that's carried in the air as children are out in front of these homes, mending shoes next to their mothers, or you know, out with their fathers bringing up wood. And I don't think Dane realizes where he is until he sort of steps into this water. and it's sort of a sight that betrays the mud around it, and it's this small pond that is fed from somewhere. There's that sort of grate in one of the walls of the city that it runs out, and maybe it goes to a small creek or a river, but that's what sort of feeds this pond. And he's more jarred back to awareness by the sound of some of the women out there washing clothes laughing at him as he's sort of in this, not finery, but way better clothes than he's used to wearing. And now he's standing like shin deep in water before he sort of snaps to and looks around. And of course, like, he flushes red as he sees all these women out there sort of washing clothes, and some are just sitting and talking. There's, maybe even a mother over sort of giving lessons to a mix of ethnicities of children that you can tell aren't all hers, but she's perhaps reading to them or even singing them some sort of fairy tale ballad, like one that Dane's familiar with but doesn't necessarily know. And I think as he sort of splashes to the water and the women sort of chuckle at him, I think the kids turn and start laughing at him because he's silly for standing in the water. And this woman who's been singing sort of tries to call the kids back to attention, and he lifts up his feet and backs out of the water, sort of shaking his legs, as you might see a dog who's stepped in something they don't like. And he just sort of stops and looks around.
Imagine, like, not far, kind of across this pond on the other bank, there's like this small little knot of younger girls who have brought their wash down here to scrub, and they're kind of looking at you and like covering their mouth and whispering to each other and laughing and giggling. It's definitely not pure poking fun. You're also a young, very well dressed nobleman who's kind of made your way down to this part of the city. Not something that they see a lot of, I don't imagine. And you hear the sound of water being wrung from clothing, much closer than you might have expected, kind of right behind you. And when you turn around, there's a familiar face and voice to greet you. I'm very proud of you, Dane. You've come very far, so very far, in such a short time. But she kind of wrings the cloth, kind of trying to squeeze all this water out of it. There is still a very long way to go, I'm afraid.
I imagine so. I don't. I'm no longer so naive to think that winning one tournament is going to change the world. But we needed it.
I agree. I think you did. I think it would be good for all of you. It doesn't hurt, of course, that some notoriety comes with it. She kind of smiles at you. Sir Dane. Sounds like familiar stories, doesn't it?
Oh, minus the wet socks.
Wet socks can dry.
It's not the story I imagined it would be.
She kind of nods her head and kind of looks out in the distance, as if understanding completely what you're talking about.
I wonder how many authors and bards sit down and write something knowing how it ends. I don't imagine many of the good stories are. Maybe the author doesn't even know how the story ends until it ends. At least I'd hope not.
I think there are surprises. At least it's the way it works in real life. Stories are sometimes embellished. Parts of them get changed to make them more entertaining. Real life is messier than that.
Yeah, things get changed and it's not always entertaining.
That's very true.
This whole strangeness with Eddard and the crypts.
Fate is a strange thing. Even if you know where your threads might lead in your tapestry that forms your life, you don't know which way it turns. When it is woven or when it is cut. Even if you could see that, I don't know that it would change much.
Probably not.
I meant what I said, Dane. You've done very well. I know this is not easy, the task that I have asked of you, but I know that I chose right. And I'm patient.
That's good. I don't know when. I don't even know how. I do believe we will, though. I have to believe that we will.
I believe you will. It has to be done, or else the alternative is too grim. Hope is exactly what you give to me, Dane. Your friends and you, the sword of Vykaril. Hope is what they will bring to the people of this kingdom and beyond for a long, long time. Your story will be read by thousands of children. She looks over your shoulder, Dane, and very quickly, I must be going. When you turn and look, you see your aunt, Candace Tully, approaching you. She has an incredulous look upon her face, and her pace is quickened. She approaches, and when you turn back, the entity you know as the washing woman is gone. Your Aunt Candace calls to you from some distance away. Dane? Dane!
Oh. Hi.
Who was it that you were just speaking with?
One of the women down here washing laundry.
She very quickly kind of like starts looking around, trying to get a better look at all of the people around. She shakes her head. No. She was just here. I saw her with my own eyes. She's not here anymore. Where did she go?
Oh, you'll have to forgive me. I'm not familiar with this city, so I wouldn't know where she would have gone.
Did you get her name?
I didn't think to ask.
She looked just like my mother. Like, exactly like my mother. Your grandmother, Dane. She died when you were very young, but I don't know if you remember her at all, but it was uncanny the way she was speaking to you, the look on her face. I remember it very, very vividly.
Oh, no, I really don't. I must be too young. I don't remember her. But maybe that's what made me stop to talk to her. Some memory of familiarity.
She kind of looks at you for a moment. Dane, what did your mother tell you about our family?
I think Dane kind of looks around, and it's what are you? Why are you here? Here, this part of the city.
I was coming on an errand for Lady Bosworth. And I saw you over here, and then I saw he was speaking with. You're not answering my question, Dane. Look, and she kind of like, almost like turns you in the conversation kind of away from whoever might be nearest. Did your mother tell you who our mother was?
She told me stories, but nothing specific. I don't think. Was she important? I can't.
She kind of laughs, almost. Dane, your mother and I were the daughters of Belagain le Fakin. Dane, you would know this name. Belagain the Fakin is essentially the Morgan Le Fay of this setting. She was a very powerful witch who helped Mathuran Gabrain form an allegiance with the elves of the north and with the Fey courts of the old world. She was very, very gifted in the old ways of magic.
So fairy tale wise or lore wise, is she portrayed as a good person?
It depends on who you ask. Most people consider her to be kind of the quintessential white witch. The healer, that thing. But as of late, a lot of those stories, the bedtime stories that children are told, witches, even good witches, are now typically painted in a not so pleasant way.
Right. Not that I've experienced that.
No.
How? What? I don't want to. I feel like I should ask you if you're certain, but that feels like a very dumb question.
Given the circumstances, I don't think it's so dumb. But she never told you. So like her.
She told me things. I knew she could do things.
Your mother? Of course she can.
Well, she didn't make common practice of it.
And she's probably right not to. She's not the only one, Dane. It's very strong in our bloodline. I would be surprised. And she kind of looks shocked that this is even having to be broached with you. Do you not have the capabilities of magic? She almost looks like maybe she shouldn't have even broached this conversation with you.
It's difficult to say. Well, everything that we've encountered on Candace, you have to understand, and I'm sure you do, that the world as it is doesn't want to remember the world as it was.
I know this all too well, Dane, yes. I have learned to hide my capabilities as best as I can. You don't think I chose to be a lady in waiting on purpose?
I don't know. Mom chose to be a
woman who lived in the middle of the woods and had a very, very happy family.
Yeah. I don't think that's ever going to be an option for me again. Not the woman part. Just the middle of the woods and happy. I'll sort of step that sort of like family intimately close, that you can do without being super awkward. Aunt Candace, I've almost been killed several times because of what our family can do.
By who? She looks almost like furious at this.
If I told you at this point that it was too many people to name, would you believe me? Everything from angry crowds to minor lords, some of which were so hypocritical that they would spit on me for what we can do and at the same time turn dark forces against us.
The people of this kingdom have no idea what magic is.
Oh, they have an idea.
It's wrong.
It's not wrong.
Dane, magic is capable of... It is capable of great darkness and pain and suffering. Yes, that much is true, but every person has that same capability within themselves.
I know.
Magic is no different.
I've said as much. But Aunt Candace, ask yourself this. If everyone who can use magic for good hides in towers in the woods to heal dying men, but not speak about it. If they wander Vykaril in secret, if they are children too young to know what they can do and lash out in fear, or they become ladies in waiting or happy wives in the forest, but don't speak for the brighter side of things, then the only magic that people see is the darkness.
That is your father's wisdom speaking. You sound just
No.
like him.
Even my companions, when I first met them, even some of those, even the one closest to me, nearly rejected me because of it.
Does this have anything to do with why you were talking to Bellegane the Fakehin?
No. I was simply talking to
Your grandmother, Dane. She was the most powerful witch of her age. You don't think she might have had the capability of extending some form of herself to reach out to you? But the interesting question is, why? What has she got you doing? You know, she kind of puts up her hand. It's probably best that I don't know. She kind of looks at you as if, like, she's in complete disbelief that her nephew is now kind of in this whatever kind of situation that you're now in. I don't know if your mother and father are going to believe what you have been up to, what you're already accomplishing. Imagine they pictured you would be a mud-soaked farm boy for the rest of your life.
I don't know what they would have pictured. I've only written her one time since I left.
You should go back to Fertile Ground. You should see them again.
No, if they don't know what I'm doing, and they won't worry as much.
And that is the fact that you have never had children speaking. They already worry about you.
There's a difference between I didn't realize I had understood this. There's a difference between not knowing what happens tomorrow and knowing what might happen tomorrow. I live every day with my companions, all of us knowing what might happen tomorrow. And yet we still get up, and yet we still fight. But that is a weight I would not wish on anyone, parent or not.
Your mother and your father may understand more than you think Dane. They were not always simple farmers. They are not still simple farmers. If this tomorrow you speak of happens to be the day when these people who have hunted you succeed, would you want them to bear the pain of never having ever seen you again? Just think about it. For them, not for you.
Huh. Are you attending the feast for the tournament? I say, trying to abruptly change the conversation.
Yeah, and she definitely seems to kind of snap back to the current moment. Yes, of course. The Duchess will be there, and I will be in attendance of her. So, I should really move along and go ahead and, well, I'll see you later tonight then, Dane.
I think Dane reaches out to sort of touch her arm and instead finds himself hugging her. But there's something very awkward about him hugging her, because perhaps the last time he hugged her, he was like 6 or 7 years old. And so he's much taller, and it's that sort of like awkwardness of realizing that you're a young man and not a little kid anymore when you go to give that hug for the first time. Like there's that moment I think everyone has in their life where they realize when they go to hug their parent that, yeah, it's still their parent, but now that hug is different. And I think that he has that moment of awkwardness and then shrugs it off and hugs her in a very childish way.
Yeah, and I imagine she embraces you, probably much the same as you remember as a child. And she kind of looks at you, and you can see pride in her expression. You've done well, Dane. A knight, already proven yourself in a tournament. Sworn yourself to a noble house already. Casting magic, she kind of says under her breath. Be proud of yourself, Dane. You don't come from nothing.
I still have to go figure out what to buy for someone.
Of course.
That
And she kind of like points at your feet. Hang your socks over the fire. Put your boots on the hearth next to it. It'll help.
right. I suppose we'll see you, if not more than in passing, at the feast.
Indeed. Good luck, Dane. And there's kind of a layered, like, meaning behind that when she says it. And she turns in, leaves you.
Layered meaning she's gonna sneak up and kill me later. So I think after this encounter, I'm gonna hurriedly head back towards the merchant district, and I'm looking for someone who makes those sort of like clockworky, mechanical, wind-up style trinkets.
It would definitely be a gnome, I think, which is somewhat unusual. But with this being a capital city and being during a tournament time, it's much less abnormal than it might normally be. And I imagine he's probably typically some kind of toy maker.
So I was not able to find it in a 5e book, but in 3.5 there was this thing called a voice box that you could mechanically record 5 or 6 minutes worth of like someone singing or what have you. I'd like to have this gnome sort of take that idea, because like in the D&G or one of the books they have a singing canary, right? Like it's a mechanical canary that knows like 4 songs. But I imagine that's just in chirps and whistles, right? So I'd like to find a gnome that can take that same idea but make the canary more of an eagle. And then I would get with Eddard and have him sing the song that he did for Sir John, and have that be what's recorded into this this canary. And then I'm going to shoot you a private message with something else I'd like to include into that.
Okay, very cool. Does it have a listed price in the 3rd edition material that you found it in?
So the voice box, give me 1 second here. So the rare version of it that's capable of magic is 3,000 gold pieces. But the mechanical canary that can do 4 songs is 350 gold pieces.
Okay. So let's call it 315.
Okay.
Because again, everybody's kind of getting a discount for the tournament and stuff. And yeah, he can absolutely do this for you. It'll take some time, but not any longer than like Sir John's halberd.
Okay.
So, yeah, he'll start tinkering away immediately. And I imagine it's probably almost like more like those brass cylinders that had like the bumps on them, like in a music box almost, that it could repeat a sound, or maybe even like the wax cylinders of like really early phonographs, something probably akin to that. So it might have some magic in it, but it's fairly mundane, low level magic that kind of drives this thing. Okay, excellent. Also, if you would, can you send that to me in the Facebook, our Facebook chat? Just you and I. So that way I can have access to it whenever I go to actually make notes and stuff from it, because I don't want to lose it in here.
Yes.
But I think as we kind of reconvene back together at the inn, just before the feast is going to happen, I have it on good authority that Sir Tord is ready and waiting, so we are going to go ahead and take our break right now, and I will get him put into the game, I hope, without any issue. So thank you so much for these 3 players for carrying the session so far. Each of you please take a point of inspiration. We're doing fantastic shopping and some really good roleplay to go along with it. Everybody who's watching this evening, thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're catching it live with us tonight or watching at some point in the future. I'm very excited to get to this second bit, and yeah, I guess we're going to take 5-10 minutes, go to the bathroom, smoke them if you got them, kiss your spouse, take a drink, etc., etc.
Feed your animals.
Eat your animals. Feed your animals or eat your animals? Whatever.
Tomato, tomato.
We don't judge here. We'll be right back. Hello everyone, welcome back. We are now 5, where we were 4 before. And yeah, welcome Baron, happy to have you. You're just in time for the good stuff. Actually, it was good stuff before too, but now you get to join the feast. Yeah, we'll catch up, you and I, about what Tord would have been up to, whatever things you would have wanted to shop for, and all that kind of stuff. We can do that off air and just have it ready for next session. Okay, so we are picking back up with, bless you, Steve. That's not where we're picking back up with. The 4 of you, Eddard is there as well in some capacity or another, have gathered together at the inn where you've been staying while here in Malrich before the feast. And this is like the feast for the tournament. They've had feasts here and there, but those were like, you know, the appetizer feasts leading up to the main course feast that is to happen this evening. So this is the one where they're going to be pulling out all the stops. Anybody who's anybody is going to be in attendance, and there's probably going to be historical, groundbreaking things, truces and deals and alliances that are made this evening. There are houses that will be seeing each other here who have not seen each other in years, probably. So, before we head into that event, is there anything in direct preparation that you want to do before we skip to that part?
All I want to say is that, like, I am going to be keeping an eye on anyone who is vaguely threatening or rude to any member of the party that I see the interaction, because I've got this know your ability or know your enemy special ability, and I want to be like sizing up people that I think might be threats.
Anyone else? Bring that special shower cap. Anything? No. All right then. The feast itself is what you could have imagined and more. There is 8 different roasted beasts to be had, vegetables that some of you have probably never ever seen or heard of, platters of fruits that are every color of the rainbow, and everybody is dressed in their absolute finest. There are very talented minstrels that are playing throughout the entire evening off in the corner, soft enough so that conversation can take place, but loud enough that anybody who wishes could certainly enjoy it. And they kind of shift back and forth between tunes that are jaunty and uplifting and encourage people to get out and dance. And then there's also softer pieces of music that are played, ballads and things that people are more prone to sit and listen to. Every candle in the hall is lit, and it is burning brightly, even though it is very, very dark outside. The queen herself, Ariel, no. The queen is named Ariel Shom. It's not her. What is going on? There we go. Come on, computer. Hold, please. Ariel Shom she's probably mid to late 40s, but doesn't show her age much. She seems pretty spry for a human woman of that age, and she's very, very good at working the room. She seems to be friends with everyone. Every conversation that she parts from, the people are laughing merrily, and you are brought before her, introduced as the Sword of Vykaril, and your various individual titles. She greets each of you in turn. Everyone, if you would please, roll an insight check for me. Got 14 from Ari. $17 from Tord. All right. 15 from Sir Lycanor. And 23 from Dane. Okay. So, Ariana Shial, being elven, maybe you just don't... You're not picking up quite as much of the subtle expression that she has playing. Humans are very fickle. They often say one thing and mean something else, and that's very not an elven way of communicating, so that might be why you kind of missed this. But the other three of you are able to pick up on something is troubling the queen. She's here, and she's working the room and making herself available to her, I just lost the term, subjects. But she's miles away in her head, and it's very obvious to you. So,
is it like a
go ahead.
kind of 10-mile stare kind of thing, or is there objectives she's looking at out of worry?
It seems to be more of a general,
Just like
yeah,
like a detachment almost, maybe.
yes, exactly. Like something is going on in her mind that's keeping her from being entirely present. Like she's working on something else that's unrelated to what's going on here at the feast. So at this feast, each one of you, if you would like, please, is there anything that your character is getting up to? Any particular dish that they find a particular liking for while they're here at this feast?
Where is the Lady Laudine?
Oh, she would certainly be here this evening. And
Speaking of dishes,
oh, good lord. She is absolutely on the arm of her husband. Let me see his name.
That's the way it is.
Indeed. He is from House Thurnbow. His name is Godwin of Astwin. Lord Godwin of Astwin.
what a nerd!
Yeah.
And not only is she with Lord Godwin, her father, Baron Lon Abernathy, is also here.
Great, cool. So I'm somewhere nearby.
Okay.
Pseudo conspicuously nearby. And I'm spending most of my time regaling people nearby with stories of the tournament and my various performances. Of course, only the barest facts. I'm certainly not embellishing or gravitating on the coolest moments and minimizing the most unimpressive. Certainly taking time to highlight some of the harrowing moments, of course, because what is heroism without adversity? But yeah, that's what I'm up to.
I imagine that it's probably not long into your very short and modest retelling of events that Lady Laudine's father, Baron Lon Abernathy, has caught ear of all of this and has approached the kind of circle of conversation where you are. Yes, I caught your performance this in the last several days. They're calling you the Lathelbrun Eagle, but you do not wear House Lathelbrun's colors. Muted.
No, indeed, sir. I did represent House Lathelburn in the tournament, but of course I am Sir John of House Lightenor.
Yes. I recognize the countenance. Ah, House Lightenor. Yes, seems to be some trouble out that way. The Kerwall, isn't it?
Indeed, and yes, we are not without our struggles.
I see. Caught up in that mess between Melowain and Lathelburn, I suppose?
Well, mess, if you would put it that way, but it is certainly something happening in our area.
I see. It's a shame. House Lightenor and House Melowain have both been noble houses, as has House Lightenor. Certainly much nobler now. And he kind of like pats like the medal that you've earned.
Yes, of course. Well, I am always eager to bring glory to my house, as should any knight be.
How's your father? I seem to remember he was a staunch but fair man.
He is well, thankfully. It was uncertain for a moment. He fell ill, but he has recovered.
I had heard that he was on the mend. That is good to hear, yes. He is doing better. Well, your performance was impressive, Sir John, is it not?
Indeed. Thank you, my lord. Thank you entirely.
Yes, have you met my daughter and my son-in-law?
Oh, I know them by reputation, of course. The Lady Laudine. It is wonderful to see you here. And
She looks like an animal caught in a trap. She looks like she has been thrown into the worst possible situation. She turns and sees you there, and immediately the color starts to rise in her face, and she kind of pulls her handkerchief kind of up and over her mouth. Godwin is oblivious, standing nearby. He kind of, oh, yes, of course. And he kind of extends his hand and kind of shakes it to you, and then turns back to the conversation he's been having.
So I imagine this is a like acceptable compliment, but if it's not, just redact and replace with whatever.
Sure, yeah.
But I definitely take her hand and kiss it, and I'm like, the glories of the tournament were far outshone by your beauty in the stands. We appreciate you and your attendance, my lady.
She kind of nods and gives she just remembered that she should curtsy, and she kind of gives a curtsy to you. You did very well today, Lord.
Please, Sir John.
Sir John, of course.
I am only too honored to have such high praise from you, my lady. Are you planning to take to the dance floor later?
Oh, she kind of looks to her husband, who, again, he doesn't seem to really be paying much attention. Maybe. Perhaps.
Well, perhaps I shall see you out there.
If someone were to ask. She kind of like lays it on a little heavy.
Of course. Well, if when your husband tires of turning about the floor with you, I would be only too happy to take a turn myself.
And the Baron nearby has just kind of smiled at this exchange. And he turns to you and kind of gives you a little bit of a knowing look. Well, it was a pleasure to meet you officially, Sir John.
And you as well, my lord. I hope you enjoy the rest of the feast.
You as well.
As soon as we part ways, I step away and step outside onto a balcony or something to get some air, and my hands are just shaking.
Perfect. Anybody else?
Tord would have looked for a seat next to his old patron. We had had a brief interaction a few days ago.
Glenrye, I think is his name. Yep. Lord Farron Glenrye.
I have this down somewhere.
He's a lord that kind of made his name as a merchant, I believe. And he's known to be very good with his money, and also for his benevolence, for being very kind and gracious with his wealth. Some people, of course, think he's kind of a dupe, but
didn't something happen with a coin purse last time?
Yeah, it hit the ground and he let all the urchins have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have kind of retroactively made it hooked up with him to get some fancy clothes for this evening. In the process, like, hey, we should eat together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe pertaining to some of my absence leading up to this.
Perfect.
I imagine the food set in front of us is like a decorative assortment of like small pheasants or something, kind of mashed with potatoes and carrots and other root vegetables, kind of served with some sort of broth cooked off on it. Kind of trenchers of bread.
Absolutely. It's got some kind of like honey, like glazed sauce.
That
they've kind of been basted in. And he starts off the meal, I imagine, a little more daintily, with a little more couth. But after talking to you for just a few moments, I would imagine that he kind of falls more into step with how Tord is actually eating.
Well, in my mind, we're probably meeting like in the middle.
Yeah,
I'm trying to eat a little less brutally.
Yeah, he has to like point out the right fork.
Yeah,
for you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I'm like, Lord Farron, you have some.
Oh. He kind of like pulls up this like fine silk handkerchief and like dabs at the corner of his mouth, and, like looks around to make sure that nobody saw it.
Lord Farron, I was.
Go ahead, please.
I was perhaps curious on your touch of the pulse of Vykaril. I know you've made quite a few deals spanning the nation, and I'm just curious on how well your connections remain.
Some more better than others, I would have to say. But most of my relations remain in good terms.
I'm sure you've heard of the turmoil south of here.
Yes, between House Lathelbrin and House Mellowwain.
Well, I'm curious. I don't know if you noticed, the Queen seems a little on edge this evening, and I would hate to be ignorant to anything that I should be privy to.
Let's see. Well, he seems almost like uncomfortable. There are the rumors that are circulating about her. Perhaps that could have something to do with it.
Right. I'm well aware of the rumor. But if there's no pertinent information attached to that.
None that I have heard. There are people who feel very strongly about it. He kind of looks around. This talk of overthrowing the throne. That her legitimacy has been brought into question. It's treason. But it's talk nonetheless.
Well, I have to be fair, Lord Farron. Every town I've walked in, almost north to south of this country, has either tried to kill me, lynch me, or shoo me on my way quicker than I can arrive. There's a lot of talk in a lot of places, but until I see something, it's hard to preemptively assume who's doing what.
Yes, of course. I often forget that many of my countrymen are ignorant. There's really no call for it, honestly.
Well, what can you tell me about the current position of Lady Bassweb?
Lady Bassweb, she's... Well, she's a very well-established woman. Her shield house is very notable. I do know no small amount of business with them, but it's not pleasurable business, if truth be told.
Where is she in relation to us? Is she here?
Yes, she would definitely be here. I imagine she's probably across the room.
Okay.
As far away from you as she can manage.
Perfect. She, like many others, would like to see me dead, and I'm sure sooner the better.
Oh, that's horrid to think about. Think she would go that far to try to do something like that to you?
We were just speaking of ignorance, Lord Farron.
Well, of course, but I mean, she's of a shield house. There's no way that she would.
Her herself, maybe not.
Oh,
But
yes.
the lead of a shield house has no lack for minions and cretins to complete dirty work.
See, that's dire to think about. Is this something that you think she could potentially be up to? Do you need assistance and some form of protection?
No. Simply a friend coming to a friend for advice.
Huh. I see. You want me to make inquiries of the quiet kind.
I certainly do not mean to push you in a direction that would either cause harm to yourself or those around you.
God, please. I am hardly unaccustomed to the navigation of discussion amongst my peers. They're a crafty bunch, and many of them have secrets.
I've served you well before, and I hope this scenario extends that same token.
I consider myself in your debt, Gord. You're a good man. You could be trusted and counted on. That's rare.
I'm going to place my hand on his shoulder and kind of not outwardly like across the table point, but I'm going to kind of bring his attention to Eddard, who I imagine is here. I don't know if there was something that
he is, yeah. I imagine being a newly seated noble, that he is probably caught up in a like frenzy of people.
I'm sure he's just schmoozing.
Yeah, exactly.
Lord Farron, that man right there is the most trustworthy person I know.
He kind of looks up. Yes, that's what was his name? Lord Pendrake?
Lord Eddard Pendrake.
Yes, Lord Eddard Pendrake. That's what he said his name was. Yes, from Rasenfield. Newly from Rasenfield.
A certain shift in the power vacuum there has put a man of better quality in a seat of power than the one that was there before. I've sworn myself to him.
I see. Well, very fine indeed. Well, their name Pendrake is so... It's so familiar, but I cannot place my finger on it. It's like I've heard it before, but a lifetime ago, almost. I must be mistaken.
No, my friend, you are not. In the crypts below the castle, there is a tomb for a knight pendrake.
You speak of the crypts of Galilor?
Indeed.
In old Vykaril. He has a family member who is buried there.
His direct lineage, I'm not sure of, but the pendrake blood runs through his veins.
Well, I may not know the name Pendrake, but if he has ancestors who are buried in the crypts of Galadon, then perhaps he has a claim to that throne after all. He kind of seems bemused.
Now, my lord, I know I've asked a lot of you already, but if there's anything that you hear that would put Lord Pendrake in danger, or could compromise his safety, I must know.
Kind of looks at you with complete seriousness. Consider it done, Tord. Both of which you have asked me this evening, I will see to it.
If you do these things for me, your debt to me is clean.
Very well. He kind of raises his tankard.
Doing so in kind of mere toasting, if you will.
To Sir Tord Masaka, the Swordbreaker.
I'm going to take that one. To Sir Tord.
Sir Tord says to the room, kind of maybe overly loud. And everybody else is kind of
From
go ahead.
From across the hall, you hear this distant, here.
Perfect. Nice. Anyone else?
So I don't think Dane has anything in particular going on. I think he's enjoying the food, but I think a lot of his attention is he's almost awkwardly staring down the queen. Like I don't think his eyes have left her contemplative face since the introduction. And he's just trying to almost kind of like read like what's going on behind that. And so like he's kind of picked at the food, and even if people walk up and talk to him, he doesn't break eye contact with or his eye contact to her, not she's looking at him. But he'll talk to whoever's here, and that's sort of like, they're here while he's focused. And it might be, it's probably awkward and obvious enough that people are noticing that he's doing that. And it's not that stare of like, it's not the same way that Sir John stares at Lady Ladine across the room. Like, it's not that. It's not the same way that Tord stares at every woman across the room. And it doesn't have the murderous intent that Hurry has when she stares at people. So it's that, but that very focused, like studious. And yeah, I mean, he is just completely caught up in trying to figure out what is going on in her head.
I think it's you kind of sitting there after maybe as long as an hour or more doing this, when a voice kind of catches your attention from beside you. It's not a familiar voice by any stretch of the imagination, and it's actually an accent that you probably have not heard at all. when you turn, you see a man with very dark skin and a large scar that runs down the left side of his face, almost all the way from his hairline down to his beard. And he's just kind of picking at a plate of food, much like you are, eating, and he says, "You have been staring at her for a long time. Is there a problem that you have with Her Majesty?"
It hasn't been that long. No, I have
Do you wish her ill intent?
been like, I sort of like turned and like almost like I just got like slapped in the mouth.
There's like an
towards
icy cold like undertone to the things he's saying to you.
right,
Yeah.
right, and like I turned like I've just been slapped in the mouth, and absolutely not.
This is the first moment that he actually breaks eye contact with his food to look at you. And he doesn't look at your face, he doesn't look at your mouth. He looks at your eyes. And you can see his eyes, which are just like these dark pools of inky blackness. And he kind of moves, these eyes move back and forth, studying you for a moment. And then he just nods his chin. Good. You're too young to kill. He kind of smiles.
No, but I am too young to murder someone.
He kind of looks taken aback, almost as if he was not expecting this reply from you. You are very brave. Foolish, perhaps, but brave. He extends his gauntleted hand towards you. I am Dokern Glodale. I am the Baron of Merrick.
So there's this moment where like Dane has to unclench his hand around this fork. I think the moment that he asked him if he's gonna, ill intent for the queen, like he white knuckled that fork, and so it's like that sort of like slow, crampy release. I'm Dane, Sir Dane.
I saw you in the tournament. You did well.
Thank you. It was the first tournament I've been to that I wasn't just polishing armor. Not that I didn't also polish armor.
It gets easier.
Yes, there are certain methods you can use to get a shine rather.
Not for polishing the armor, no.
Yes.
The fighting for show. But, it does not seem like it was your first time to fight in general. You seem to know what you're doing.
I don't know if that's true. But it's definitely not my first time fighting.
Well.
Do I know where Merrick is?
So, Merrick is an island. Merrick is a city on an island to the northwest. It is the city that serves as kind of the civilian part of Baldock Prison. The same prison that the rumors of surrounding the Queen refer to. Again, this is a prison where you send people that you can't put in normal prison.
Right, but I haven't heard any of the rumors surrounding the Queen, so unfortunately. Well, you came here expressly for the tournament?
Of course. And he kind of, for a moment, kind of looks in the Queen's direction. Her Majesty asked me to come, so I came. It's an honor to be here. It's a grand tournament.
Do you know her well? The Queen?
There's a moment where he kind of like starts to say something and then stops and kind of looks down at his plate and chuckles. Yes.
Oh.
I've known her for some time. No. He almost looks like he's going to like reach across the table and backhand you.
Right. And I'm like, no, not. Oh, but like, perhaps there's questions I shouldn't be asking.
I served her father. I was a knight for House Shom. It was my duty, my honor, to protect her when she was a princess. For that, I got a title. Was made Baron. For that, I got this. And he kind of like traces the scar on his face.
Dana's really racking his brain trying to figure out like what battle he might have gotten that scar in, like when the Baron of Merrick would have been involved in some sort of fight, and I don't think he comes up with it and expresses as much. I'm not a historian, but I don't remember a battle that involved the Baron of Merrick.
It was some time before I was named as Baron. And it was no great historical battle. No pitched combat.
I think we often find ourselves carrying the worst scars from the battles that no one else knows about.
More than just on our faces.
Yes.
He seems to be considering you in an entirely different way in this moment.
She has a lot on her mind, it would seem.
Her Majesty. Yes, you could say so. Her mind is always working.
I've seen people in charge whose minds are working and still the pleasantries of station must be exchanged, but this is different. There's a sense of concern in her eyes, and not just a stately concern.
Whatever it is, and he kind of like points his bread at you, is entirely her concern.
Were she to need it to be someone else's concern, I would offer what help we could.
If you are true in what you say, then perhaps one day you will be called upon. Until then, maybe find someone else to set your eyes upon.
I sort of quickly glance around the room.
He kind of stands up from the table and claps you on the back a couple of times and then makes his way elsewhere.
I started to think to myself, was he even sitting next to me when we sat down? I don't
Definitely
remember.
not.
don't remember. And so I think I look around the room for him for a moment, and then sort of like pick out other nobles. I'm like, oh, that's so and so, and that's so and so, and I try to turn my attention to maybe Sir John over there talking about taking his turn with some married woman, which sounds really awkward when you hear it from that distance. And Tord over there eating in his foppery, and before I think Dane just goes back to watching the Queen.
What about Ari? Is there anything that Ari's getting up to?
Ari really didn't have an agenda for this evening, so she's probably just eating her fill of vegetables and fruit, because this is the most of that she's ever seen in a very long time. And probably standing awkwardly somewhere in the vicinity of Lord Eddard, and listening, making sure, keeping an eye out on him, and making sure that none of these other lords have any ill intent, I guess to say.
Absolutely. And the humans here have slathered themselves in every kind of imaginable perfume and oil and scent that they can, but you can still smell that human smell that kind of happens when they all congregate together like this in a closed room without hardly any fresh air being introduced whatsoever. And you're definitely it's not that it's making you have to go outside or anything like that, but it's ever present in your mind.
Probably so much so that throughout the evening I've inched my way towards an open door, like to the balcony or something. Still
Where
having
you find
that
Sir John fanning himself almost.
Oh, Ari, hello. What brings you out to the balcony?
Are you
just
okay?
Now? Yes, I'm okay too. I'm fine.
Is the air in there a little bit too hot for you or something?
Oh, yes. Yes. I just needed a bit of fresh air. How are you? Are you enjoying the party?
Not at all. The food's good though.
Me too. Wait, no, sorry to hear that.
Is this all there's going to be? Just people standing around gobbling at each other?
Do you, there's the feasting, and there is the music, and there is the dancing. It's a somewhat big production.
This dancing, what kind are we talking about?
Well, I think it will probably be courtly dances up and down the line, etc. But there's traditionally an opening dance, and I have a thought.
Am I going to like this thought?
Do you remember a couple of months ago, we did some training together, and we ended up performing a little bit of improvisational sparring against one another?
Aye.
Would you care to show off to start the dancing this evening?
You're asking me to fight you for dancing?
Well, I am asking you to dance with me and for us to apply our combat knowledge to dance.
I think Ari is probably just she's staring at you, but she's probably actually staring through you at this moment, trying to figure out what it is you're actually asking.
Staring through me for a minute, you can tell that I am just as clueless as you. My mind is elsewhere. But the most focused I've been is when I'm talking about like, oh, well, maybe we could dance together. It's clear that my mind is on dancing of some kind.
All right.
Look, if we were to start off the dancing, it would do a lot. I don't know if you noticed. I'm a little nervous out here.
Oh,
I
haven't noticed at all. Mm-mm.
Well, I suppose I hide it well, but the situation is that I have worked my way into a dance that is, frankly, more terrifying than any enemy we've faced so far. It would do me some good if we could break that ice.
So you're needing some practice or something?
Well, not practice per se. I've taken lessons throughout my life, of course, but just a little bit of a warm up, perhaps, is a better way to think of it.
All right. So like kind of like some stretching and then some lunges. Is that what we're talking about here?
If that's what you need to do to warm up out here, that's fine. What I need is to warm up for the dancing on the floor, and I would be helped by actually dancing on the floor to warm up in that way.
All right. As long as there's not big joke here, and you make me look like a dumb ass.
Oh, no, I would never. I'm certain you will show me up if the sparring we did a couple of months ago is any indication.
I think that's probably the most comfortable maybe that Ari has been all night is the thought of, oh, I get to fight Sir John in front of a crowd.
Yeah, of course. You were holding out at the tournament. Now is the real delivery for Ariana Shial.
Perfect. And I mean, like, on cue, the music starts up for the opening dance. Naturally.
Well, shall we? And I just instinctively offer my arm for her to take.
How do you offer it to her?
I think I just hold it out. Like I move to face the door as if I'm about ready to walk through it, and then I just kind of hold it out to the side, and I'm just expecting you to take it. I don't even really like look at you. I this is just the way things are done.
I almost think she doesn't really understand what you're doing, and so you're holding out your arm, and I think she goes to maybe do a flip or something.
Like flip me?
Yeah. The beginning of the dance.
So I end up on my back and I've got this bewildered look on my face. Like,
so we're not ready.
Quick thought. Actually grappling with each other would cause quite a scandal on the dance floor. Best if we just have a few turns and perhaps some leg and arm work on the floor.
So just going through the motions.
Yes. You've never been dancing, have you?
I would not call this dancing, no.
Well, fair enough. But we'll figure it out. Just don't hurt me. This is and I won't hurt you either, of course.
You could try. And she would walk into the room.
And I'm just kind of left thinking about that for a second, and then I'm like, well, here goes nothing.
Imagine there's like one or two people that caught this like tail end of the interaction, like where you got flipped over on your back, like right at the door to the balcony. They're just kind of like not sure how to take what just happened at all.
And I sort of straighten my doublet, and then I'm like, carry on, all is well.
Fantastic. Both of you, give me a perform roll.
Perform, huh?
I like that chuckle.
Is that supposed to be a skill we have?
It's on there somewhere.
It's on the sheet. Do I have it?
Oh, well, that's a really good die roll. So
Well, great.
I'm sure your dex is no joke.
I got a 3.
performance is charisma. Oh,
Oh,
really?
yeah, I guess it
I'm a 6. I got a 16. So
Yeah, okay.
What'd you get total, Eli?
16.
3.
Oh, 3.
Oh, 3 was your total.
My total.
That's shock in my voice, by the way.
2 on the die.
Oh, ooh, okay. So basically, the way I picture this happening is Ariana Shial goes out there and she's performing basically like a kata of some type. And Sir John, you are trying your best to like salvage this into some form of like official dance.
Yeah.
And yeah.
If Sir John were a fan of Avatar The Last Airbender, he'd be picturing something like that thing in season 3 when Aang and Katara do the fire dance thing in the cave. It's not like that. It's more like if Aang and Zuko tried to dance with each other.
Actually, it's like Aang and Appa.
Perfect. Yeah, there's a lot of people kind of that make room for. We'll go ahead and call it dancing. That's happening, and by the end of it, everybody like the music stops after the song is finished, and there's like this pregnant pause, and then like somebody remembers their manners and is like giving a polite clap at what they just witnessed. Sir John, you see the Lady Laudine, who has just watched this entire exchange, and she looks upset. She
Upset
is
how?
like she's staring daggers at Ariana Shial.
Oh, okay, good. That's fine. I can deal with that. As long as she's not disappointed in my dancing.
Priorities.
You can't be a disappointed interpretive dance because you don't know what it's supposed to mean.
Right. If you were disappointed, then you just didn't understand. No, so I think I go off and try and smooth things over with her. After, of course, bowing to Ari and like offering my hand, and I imagine she has no idea what to do with that.
Especially when you bow and offer your hand, she just kind of
Flips you again.
Am I supposed to flip him now?
Are you ready this time?
No. Put your hand in mine.
And so she would. Now what?
That's it.
Oh,
That's all.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's kind of boring.
Don't worry about your part.
Dane, was it just me, or was that absolutely tragic?
So, like, I think Dane was actually for the first time like not staring at the queen. He was eating, and I think like you say that, and a pea just rolls out of his mouth onto the table as he's just like,
Was that too much? Was I being rude?
no, that was terrible.
Thanks, Squire.
That was yeah. Whew. Oof. I don't think I was that bad, but my mom was teaching me to dance. And I was 3.
Sir John, it is as you are trying to leave the hall to go after Lady Laudine that you almost bowl into a woman who is entering the hall. You realize an elderly woman who's kind of hunched over, and after a second you realize that she's blind. And As a matter of fact, you've seen her before. This is the White Witch.
From the spot outside Kerwall.
Yes. She stops and kind of puts her kind of gnarled, bony hands kind of out against you to kind of brace. You think it's to brace herself, but she holds on to you with considerable strength. Are you all right, Sir John?
I think when she asks if I'm all right, I just sort of brush it off like, oh yes, of course. And then she says, Sir John, and I look and I double and triple take. I'm like, you?
Yes.
What are you doing here?
I have urgent business to discuss with the Queen. Would you mind? And she kind of like reaches up for you, the crook of your arm, much like you had offered to Ariana Shiel just moments before.
Yeah, okay. So I take her arm, and I would know like who the Queen's protector is, right?
Yeah, there's a number of her guard, like her royal guard, that are already present in the room, but it's pretty obvious that the fellow that was talking to Dane earlier seems to have a kind of a proclivity to hang out near the Queen in a very defensive manner.
Okay. So I think I take her arm, but I'm not taking it like I'm about to escort her. I take it like, let's get real with each other for a second. And I'm like, urgent business. What business?
Well, what I have to tell her is for her ears. If it is decided that it pertains to you, which it may or may not, I will leave that decision for her to share with you. Are you refusing to give an old woman your arm to take into the royal feast?
No, of course not. Of course not.
You're a dear.
Let us go inside.
I think that would be best. She kind of crooks your arm and kind of pats your bicep with her other hand.
It's an impressive bicep. No, so I think what I want to do, I am just as nervous about her being here as I was about being in Lady Laudine's presence. I want to maybe roll insight to like get an idea of her intent. Like if she's got any violent intent right now, I do not want to be the person who's going to escort her to the Queen.
Sure. Okay. So go ahead and roll.
So yeah, let me do that. 19.
She doesn't seem to have any ill intentions of any kind. She seems to be strangely at peace and comfortable, despite this not being what you would imagine her typical scene to be.
Okay. So as we're walking over, I'm sort of making a little bit of conversation with her, and I'm trying to make it look like it's comfortable to people who are maybe seeing this happening. But to her, I'm saying like, does the Queen know you? Do you need to be introduced?
I think we can skip the introductions. While the Queen knows me fairly well, truthfully, everyone here probably knows me, but most of them do not favor me. We'll just leave it at that.
I kind of, she's blind. I don't know she can see, so I am kind of like rolling my eyes like, what am I getting myself into? And at the same time, I'm looking over and trying to find Sir Tord and Sir Dane and Ari in the room and catch their attention and like, look at what is happening here.
Yeah, I imagine as you kind of enter the room with her, there is not a set of eyes that fails to see the fact that she has entered the room.
Great.
As a matter of fact, she gets maybe halfway across the room, like walking straight through the dance floor. Basically choosing the shortest path towards the queen and just taking that, regardless of who's doing whatever in her way. She gets about halfway across the room, and she says, "Your Majesty," very, very loudly. The room falls silent. "If you would, please, dear, I'd like to have a word with you." The guards immediately draw their weapons and start to surround the queen.
They're not making a move on the two of us.
No. They seem to be
Okay.
forming like a protective barrier around the queen. And they no sooner have kind of formed this barrier than the man who had spoken to Dane earlier, the Baron of Merrick, Dokern, he steps forward. And he says, "Put your weapons down. Sheathe your blades." They kind of look surprised for a second, and then they look to the queen, who nods her head in agreement. They sheathe their blades and step away. The White Witch reaches up and pats your arm again, Sir John. "Thank you, dear." And she kind of removes her arm from yours, and then she is going to finish closing the distance to the queen. And for a moment, the two of them begin whispering amongst one another, and slowly, the feast going on in the room around them resumes, but most people's eyes don't leave the pair of them.
And so I'm like off the hook at this point.
Yeah, you got the impression that she didn't want you to come any closer.
Okay. In that case, then I'm going to go find the rest of the party as fast as I can. And try to be like chill about it, but I imagine people are probably still casting glances at me and I'm just not going to be able to keep it very quiet.
Yeah, I mean, people are kind of looking your direction a little, but they seem to be, even though they're having these side conversations and things again, they seem to have gone back to normal conversation. When they divert their eyes, it is mostly towards the queen and the White Witch.
Okay. Yeah, then as soon as I get the party together, I'm like, was anyone expecting her?
I was just as shocked as any.
Do we have any suspicion about why she's here?
I couldn't even begin to imagine why she would. How she would.
I'd wager to guess that it's the same reason that the Baron's here.
Do you know why the Baron is here?
Queen summoned him. It's not often that the Baron of a present island gets to just party.
Do you think perhaps the Queen knows the White Witch?
Would have to assume so, at least somewhat.
Yes, I would think so. I mean, the Queen seems distracted. Like she's pondering something.
Well, war for her throne is brewing. I'm sure it weighs heavily upon her.
This is something different.
Ari, does this resonate with any magical knowledge you may have?
I'm at a loss as much as you are.
I think totally oblivious to stuff that's been going on in Ari's life. He just kind of randomly arrives at something like, I don't suppose you've received missives from other elves?
No. Ari says, she kind of hesitates a little bit before she says that.
I feel like that was the Sir John equivalent of what do your elven eyes say?
I really wanted to say it.
I don't think that the White Witch comes out for just anyone.
Didn't know she came out. Period.
Right.
They must be important.
Sir John kind of looks at Sir Tord. I've got a bad feeling about this.
On Ariana Shial's words, she, the White Witch, turns and looks directly at the knot of you before turning back to the Queen and continuing.
I did make mention to the Baron that if the Queen were to need us, we would help her. I don't know if that's going to amount to... I didn't think it was going to amount to anything. No.
Jeremy, remind me the politics of the situation here. We just represented House Lathelbrin in the tournament, and House Lathelbrin is loyal to the Queen.
Yes. So
Okay.
House Lathelbrin, while a shield house in and of itself, they basically just hold the city of Old Vykaril. And the surrounding areas tend to swear their fealty to them. And in turn, House Lathelbrin swears its fealty directly to the Crown's shield house.
Cool. Okay, thank you. So we are already basically like tied up with the Queen and her throne.
Yes. In a very kind of several steps removed, but yes.
Yeah, but at the very least, we're not beginning to be tied up against her.
No. You're definitely not... You're in the camp that's kind of rooting for her keeping her throne.
Okay.
Melowain is the house that is claiming that her that she basically should be removed because she's an assassin in their eyes.
Mm. So
Was there people still dancing?
There were when the White Witch entered. And
That's over now, yeah.
They stopped whenever she crossed the floor, and now the music has picked back up, and there are some people dancing, but not as many.
This might be a stretch, but upon the White Witch's entry, could I maybe gleam who was looking at her distastefully and who was kind of looking on her maybe with
On the White Witch?
acceptance? Yeah.
Yeah. You can roll me an insight check.
I mean, I imagine it can be hard, but I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Rolled 17 on the die. Total of 17.
Okay. So the majority of the people seem to be showing at least discomfort with her being here. Disdain might be a little strong for some of them. And those that are showing disdain, some of those might be merely a show. Because that's the expected social response for a witch. But everybody at least seems curious and possibly concerned that she's here. Okay. At some point, while they're whispering, the Queen herself looks in your direction.
I'm still awkwardly staring at her.
And after kind of scanning the rest of your group, her eyes fall on your face, Dane. She puts her glass down and she says, "If you would, please, everyone, excuse me for a moment. There is urgent business that I must attend to." She kind of stands up and she turns to leave the room with the White Witch. And she says, "You five, the Sword of Vykaril, attend me."
I go quickly.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah.
Is the Baron also going? Does it look like?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna try and fall in step with him, like using that as sort of like I'm not getting any closer to the Queen than that.
Yeah, I imagine that, like, when she calls you and the group of you starts to leave the room, he's going to give you a look like, that happened faster than I thought.
I just look at him and go, and so when I fall in next to him, I sort of lean my head, and believe it or not, stranger things have happened to us.
I'm starting to believe you. The rest of the room kind of continues on with this kind of low murmur of, pretense. But the moment the Queen steps out of the room, not even the rest of your group has left the room yet, the conversation immediately switches to murmuring and whispers and conjecture flying around the room. The door closes. You're led down a small hallway to kind of a side room, kind of an audience chamber. It's a little more intimate. It's a smaller affair. There's a little bit more comfortable seating. Large table. The Queen immediately enters and crosses to like a small, like, sidebar and grabs a decanter and starts to pour herself another chalice of wine. "Please, all of you, come in, sit down." "I'm not going to bite you. Sit down, please."
I will sit down.
Yeah, Tord will move into the room and like proposition himself questioningly towards the decanter of wine.
She just kind of raises the decanter in your direction. "Would you like a glass?"
Oh, please. My queen.
She actually hands you the chalice that she just poured for herself, and then grabs another and begins pouring it. This is highly irregular behavior. Like, this is not what you would expect from a queen.
So on a very almost instinctual level, Dane looks over at the White Witch and in Old Vykarilian goes, "Should we be worried?"
She kind of has sat herself on like an ottoman, and she just reaches over and kind of pats your knee. No, my child, no reason to worry. Anybody who wishes a glass, the Queen will pour it herself. Dokern has moved to the door and has basically just stationed himself by the door with his hand kind of grasping his wrist, almost like this is something he's very used to. And he's got the kind of presence where it's very obvious that he can't be ignored. Like, he's in the room. But he's also got that kind of I'm not paying attention kind of look on his face. Like, I'm here, but I'm not engaged on purpose.
I am professionally not part of this conversation.
Exactly. Yep. Once everybody has a glass that wants one, the Queen kind of sits down in one of these chairs and rubs her temples and then kind of the bridge of her nose on either side, and then takes a large drink from this goblet. Everything you said would happen has started to happen. Your warnings have all come true so far. Can they be trusted? She says, kind of indicating all of you. The White Witch kind of looks in the direction of the Queen. I would not have recommended them if they could not be. The Queen kind of sighs. Our kingdom is in a shambles. We are on the brink of tearing ourselves apart. There are many who believe that I should not sit upon the throne. There are some who want me to remain where I am. Truth be told, I'm not sure which camp I prefer. The sword, Camagel, was stolen by thieves almost a decade ago now. What we have used since is a facsimile, fake. Were it to be known that the sword of Vykaril, and she kind of nods, the true sword of Vykaril, sword of kings, Camagel, was missing, it would throw fuel onto an already simmering fire, I'm afraid. I want that blade found. It must be found, or else... well, all of this. And she kind of gestures broadly with an open hand. The White Witch kind of steps in, and she turns to your collective group. Specifically towards you, Tord. She says, my dear, the forests of Angorshire now burn. An army has razed multiple villages along the borderlands, and Shannon is called for aid.
Whose armies?
We are not sure, but it is a collection of orc. Not Angor orc, mind you, but the orc from beyond, from the seas of grass that extend past the borders of our realm. Seem to have united under a warlord, a very powerful warlord.
What is his name?
We are not sure, nor do we know the name of his clan.
I will find this man.
One of your tasks, those that I set for you. It can be accomplished in these lands. The lands of your people, of the Angor. You should go there. See if you can lend your help. And perhaps, finally, and she kind of looks to all of you, take one step closer to reforging Camagel.
I think at the end of that conversation, Tord would return his gaze to his companions, just like extremely both concerned but also like longing for aid.
The queen says, "But dare we wait for how long they must... Reforging the sword Camagel is going to be a daunting task. This will take too long." And the white witch kind of, similarly to what she just did to Dane, kind of pats the queen's knee. Here. The sword is but a corpse now. However, its spirit remains. It must be given a new body. But worry not. The spirit remains. And she turns and looks to you, Dane. One of them carries it. Dane, you feel the rusted hilt that you carry on your belt vibrate against your leg.
I think Dane sort of locks eyes with the White Witch, and then like the conversation with his aunt replays in his head real quick, and the washing woman's first like entreaty with him, and I think as Dane is sort of sitting there with his hands, on the table, sort of listening to this, Celestial just, appears in his hands. The warlock ability to summon a weapon.
The queen immediately stands up from the chair that she's sitting in and sets her chalice to the side. And she kind of takes a step towards you and then stops. May I?
I sort of swing it around so that the blade's up my arm, and I hand her the hilt.
She stares down at this sword and takes it in her hand, almost like she's like making a transfer of like a child from one person to another. And she holds it, kind of cradling it in her hands, looking down on it, and you can feel like this intense sadness like radiating out of the queen. But it's destroyed. It's mangled and rusted, useless.
Dane feels super bad because like literally a week ago he had polished that thing and he has no idea why it's rusted again. So
yeah, the blade that you have, though you may have polished it, it looks like this. So like, I mean, it looks like it has lived underwater for a decade. It's in pretty bad shape. So it does polish and shine ish.
Right, but it always ends up looking rusty again.
Yeah, exactly. She says, it's in such poor shape. And the White Queen, or the White Witch says, much like Vykaril itself, no doubt.
But it's still sharp. And is still capable of doing what's needed.
This blade ushered in such an era for this kingdom. Even in this state. You should be very proud to wield it. She'll hand it back to you. So, the sword must be reforged. And it is you who should do it. I pray to the gods that you are for the task. With that, we're going to end the session. So, thank you very, very much. Anybody who watched along with us this evening, I appreciate it very, very much. Please, if you like what you saw, hit the like button, share it around if you want, subscribe. There's lots more on the channel, and hopefully a lot more of the story to come as well. I love this game. I love these characters. I love the story that we get to tell with these characters every month, that we have been telling for 2 years now, which is fantastic. So yeah, I'm going to pass things over to my players. They can say any kind of parting words that they would like, plug anything that they wish as well. Anybody who mentions a channel or link, you should be able to follow that in the description of this video down below. So we're going to start with Steve this time around.
Yay! Awesome game, Jeremy, as usual. It's always a blast to get to play with these people. You know, like you said, it's a special game, has a lot of meaning. And on top of that, you know, I love everybody in it, and also it makes the real world suck a little bit less. So that's always good. As far as anything to plug, yeah, just I guess you know, come back on Monday to the same channel for Sunderhearth Session 8, which is also crazy that we're that far up in number of episodes. But that's a collaborative world building dealio. So if you haven't seen episodes 1 through 7, just jump in at 8 because it won't make a difference. We'll still talk about magic. And yeah. Oh yeah, and congratulations on the baby again to our missing player. I hear that he had something to do with it, although I'm pretty sure his wife did the majority of the work. That's what they taught me in school anyway.
I don't imagine there'd be any argument from Josh.
Yeah, she had to sit on the egg, so that's how. No, not how. I'll stop now.
Signed off with the stork, you know.
Right, just sign for the package.
Amazon
Thanks.
covers that too now. All right. Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations again to Josh and his family. Again, I hope that you guys are getting enough sleep, because I remember what that was like. But it's always fantastic to have a new young one in the house. So much love. Just like in this group. Okay, next up we have Eli.
Hey, everybody. Well, I sure didn't get a chance to smooth things over with Lady Laudine, and I'm sure that's not going to come back to bite me. So how exciting. And Josh, hey, congratulations and good news. You didn't miss anything exciting this time. Definitely no major developments. So, you know, just be glad about that. I really enjoyed this session. It was a lot of fun. It was pretty atypical for us, but it was a great time. And yeah, that's all I've really got. You can find me on social media. You know, I've got games and stuff out there. Enjoy them.
Some very enjoyable games, as a matter of fact. I was even in some of them.
Yeah,
I know
that's
for,
right.
for a fact that they were enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, happy to have everybody back, almost everybody back for this session. As you said, somewhat of an atypical session. but just a filler episode, really. No big deal. All right. Next up, we have Karen.
Yeah, no big deal. I mean, we just talked to the queen and the white witch, and yeah, nothing happened. It's all good.
No big.
So I'm Myth Gears. My channel's kind of on hiatus at the moment, but it should be back on for a one episode coming in September. So hopefully that'll go off without a hitch. But other than that, I mean, check out everybody's channels. They're all amazing. And yeah, if you can tune in for Sunderhearth, that's pretty darn cool project that's going on there. So, and thank you, everyone. This was a this was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this session. And again, congrats, Josh, on the new V1. So.
Excellent. Thank you as always, Karen. Yeah, I can't wait to get back to black sails in dark skies. I always want to reverse the dark and black for some reason. So yes, definitely go check out everybody who has mentioned the channel, please. Like Karen said, they're all fantastic content producers when they're producing content, at the very least. So, last but certainly not least, since he did not get to give us an intro in particular, Baron, why don't you carry us out here?
What's up, everyone? I'm Baron. I got to play the latter half as Sakator, the guy who's not doing the worst anymore, so that's cool. I will say, I kind of echo everyone else. Congratulations, Josh. The baby is adorable. Also, everyone should go check out Josh's music at Passion Point, I think it is. Since he can't call it out for himself, it's some good stuff. I will take a second to thank my players in my 2 games that are on hiatus. So Karen, wow, total brain fart. Jonathan Davis. I had this together.
You started naming people. That's when it gets bad.
My good players in 2 campaigns that have put up with my bullshit as I'm going through a lot of transitions here. So thank you guys for your patience, and this group especially, thank you for working with me a little bit so I can play tonight. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Glad that you were able to make it. Thank you for doing so. I know it's hard to come straight from work and get into gaming. I know it's rough for more people than just you. I know Karen does that for pretty much any of the games of mine that she plays in, because time zones suck. That's the lesson here. But all right, I think that's everything. Once again, if you tune in this evening, thank you so much. I hope to see you again at some point in the future. Be kind to one another. Wear a mask if you have to go out of the house. Yeah. We're in a world that is becoming increasingly more hostile and mean to each other. And don't add to it. Do what you can to take away from it. Play more games. Games make people happy. Typically. Just look at these people. Anyways, until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.